I'm moved to do the work that I do, to organize people, to educate people. Because even as dire as this battle feels sometimes, I never lose sight of how beautiful this world is and how, when we work together, we can protect all the places we love.
I've always been aware of the issues facing our environment and tried to be a conscientious citizen in that regard, but nothing gets you more motivated than having your livelihood, your way of life, your children's safety being threatened by a project that also threatens the planet.
Here in New York, we have leadership at state agency levels that are moving us towards a cleaner energy future. At the same time, we have people who are proposing projects that are based in fossil fuel infrastructure. There are a number of proposals for pipelines, both natural gas and petroleum, that are proposed to either run up and down or across the Hudson Valley. I mean, you have to ask the question in terms of policy, if the decision was made in terms of, the health impacts or potential health impacts that we weren't going to allow fracking, well, why are we going to allow the products of fracking to be transported through the state?
We moved and bought our house in February, so we weren't really walking around the neighborhood in the snow. But once the spring came and we walked, we saw the markers for the pipeline, but we didn't realize that it wasn't a distribution line for local natural gas service. It was a massive transmission pipeline that carried a large portion of gas from Pennsylvania all the way up to Boston. There are two pipelines in the right-of-way right now. One is a 30-inch pipeline and one is a 26-inch pipeline. Instead of going to FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and saying, we want to take up the entire 26-inch pipeline and put in a massive 42-inch pipeline in its place, they broke the project up into three separate parts. The first part is, remarkably, the Algonquin Incremental Market Expansion. This is kind of the portion right here closest to my home. We got a certified letter in the mail offering us a free pre- and post-blast inspection because it's so close to our house where they're going to be laying these charges. We're not really sure what we're in for in terms of how long the construction will be here. Even with the blasting, they don't give straight answers depending on who you talk to. So we really can't get a sense of what is going to be impacting us. And especially having two little kids, if they're going to be blowing stuff up across the street from your house such that it could damage your home, you'd like a heads up.
This valley has faced a lot over the years, and we're just now beginning to recover. And now we have a proposal to cut a giant scar down the Hudson Valley to build these twin pipelines.
The company calls itself the Pilgrim Pipeline Project. It's a set of two pipelines that will carry fracked and volatile back in crude oil between Albany, New York, and Linden, New Jersey. 79% of the project is proposed for the thruway right-of-way. And the rest of that is going to be cutting through private properties, town parks, and municipal lands. But even the right-of-way for the thruway is what people consider their backyards.
That's going to cross major tributaries of the Hudson River, like the Moodna Creek and Esopus Creek and Wallkill, and numerous wetlands, 296 water bodies across the Hudson River, affecting 25 state and federal endangered species. These are not small impacts. The company cites that they have to clear 600 acres of forest down the Hudson Valley at first just to construct the pipeline.
The first that anybody heard about it was when landmen representing Pilgrim Pipeline, LLC, showed up in their backyards and on their back porches, shoving a piece of paper at them saying, we're here to survey your property. And several of those landowners went to their local town officials and said, what is going on? Who are these people?
So what did the Pilgrim representative want when they called?
Well, what they wanted for my property was to build an access road in order to build the pipeline itself. And actually they're planning to build those access roads, one every single mile along the entire route. So there's going to be hundreds of properties like this or forested lands going over waterways that are going to be at risk just from the construction before there's even a pipeline in place. Even if a spill never did happen, they're still creating so much damage to people's lives, to the communities, and like you mentioned, also just to the beauty of the land, which our economy in this area is very, very dependent on.
Some people thought that this was a project that was being promoted by a government because we needed it to supply our fuel. In fact, we have no fuel supply problems in New York. This is again a project that is just going to be passing through New York and New York communities in 6 counties, and over 30 municipalities are going to get all the risk and none of the benefit.
It's always a relief when it goes wee, wee, because the constant means the power plant is having a problem and we must evacuate. Because we are within the 10-mile evacuation zone. When we first heard about this project, we're like, oh, certainly no one's going to allow them to build a massive gas pipeline next to the nuclear power plant. Someone will say no.
It's not like many people have nuclear plants in their backyards. I live within 10 miles of the nuclear plant. It just seems to me you don't put a high-intensity pipeline anywhere near a nuclear plant. It was concerned with all of us. I'm an elected official. Many other elected officials joined me in opposition to what's going on. We felt very, very strongly that you just can't take the opinion of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission or Entergy, who runs the plant. So we really want an independent assessment.
I mean, we have an aging nuclear power plant, which a number of agencies are trying to close. And instead of keeping the status quo, we're looking at significantly increasing the risks. And I don't have confidence in the people that are doing the risk analysis. One of the documents which was obtained from the NRC, it shows a handwritten document that's unsigned, undated, and it's almost a back of the napkin analysis that it shows how diligent they were in their haste to perform this analysis.
Perhaps the worst thing to me, I think, is the most mundane, which is that if this pipeline works exactly how it's designed, it never has a failure, it never has a rupture. It is polluting the air we breathe every single day. It is emitting pollutants measured in tons, pollutants with known acute and long-term health effects, and this expansion of the pipeline will just exacerbate that.
New York is proposed to move to 50% renewable energy by 2030, with a 40% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2040, and ultimately an 80% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. But we can't reach those goals by building more fossil fuel infrastructure that is going to last generations.
This completely contradicts the direction of New York energy policy right now. I mean, we face a climate crisis. This state is looking to be a leader nationally on energy, and this would be a huge step backwards. This is 20th century stuff. This is not 21st century stuff.
If you put the $1 billion from this project and invested in alternative fuels, it would move us that much more quickly to those fuels being viable.
Again, talking about risks versus benefits and who is benefiting and who bears the risk, the truth of the matter is, we bear all of the risks and none of the benefits.